Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs. So it's been over 6 months now since I picked up the Zenith El Primero. For such a long time, the El Primero was a grail watch for me, and I was so fortunate last year to pick it up. Now, admittingly, initially, I've had my ups and downs with this watch, but I think I figured it out. However, there are some things that you should know before you pick this watch up, and I'd like to discuss that with you today. But before I get into my 6 month review, please like and subscribe and click that bell icon for notifications when I upload new videos. I certainly enjoy making these videos and I hope you like them too. So let's flip the camera and start the 6 month review of the Zenith El Primero. So let's refamiliarize ourselves with the specs on the Zenith El Primero before I give you my thoughts, positive and negative, on the watch. This is the model number 03.2150.400/69.C713. Quite a mouthful. It's the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster. We have 38 millimeter case diameter, 12.5 millimeter height, 47 millimeter lug width to lug width, lug to lug, sorry, and 19 millimeter lug width. It is a 100-meter water resistance watch. It's powered by the El Primero 400, which is a 31 joule movement, high beat, 36,000 BPHs, and has a 50-hour power reserve. As you can see, the date is on the 430. Here on the watch, you have the three sub dials in a silver, a dark gray, and a blue silver dial here that really pops. About 13 or 14 years ago, I had a couple of watch making buddies of mine, and I asked them, I had a GP, I had a Panerai, what watch would they suggest me looking at for the next addition to my collection? And they both said you got to go with a Zenith El Primero. It's the first automatic chronograph ever made. Iconic piece, beautiful piece. Check it out. And so I did. And sure enough, when I went online and checked out the watch, aesthetically I thought it was great looking. And having that stamp of approval by my two watch buddy friends, watchmaking buddy friends, they really helped seal the deal. And at that point, it became what I didn't realize it was becoming, and it was becoming a grail watch for me. Fast forward 13 or 14 years later, I was fortunate enough to pick it up, like I said in the introduction of the review. So that's one of the main things that really attracted me to the watch, was the history, the iconic status of this watch. Also, upon the recommendation of my two friends as well, that really carried a lot of weight. So for me, it was going to be a no-brainer to add this to my collection one day. And so when I picked it up, I was very happy, and I found that that it really fit really well on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. It sat very nice on top. I was debating. On the size. I ended up with the 38 millimeter, but I was thinking about the 42 millimeter. What scared me off about the 42 millimeter case diameter version was the lug to lug. From what I was getting online, I was seeing that the lug to lug was about a 51 millimeters, and that is just a little too big on my wrists. And I don't know if you guys notice here, but the lugs here come to a sharp point at the end. And so now, having this watch for a while, I realized if I had gone larger, it may have sat a little larger on my wrist than I would want to. And these things are pretty sharp over here. So who knows what it may have gotten caught on, like a sweater or a shirt. I don't know. Maybe that kind of reasoning doesn't doesn't really matter. But that's what I was thinking. Anyway, this, like I said, if it's really, really comfortable. Um, I also had it also came with an alligator brown alligator strap, very, very nice looking strap. Now, this is so the size is a plus for me, but it's also potentially a negative, or was potentially a negative, because of the smaller size, which is true to the original size back 50 years ago, um, and the black dark brown alligator strap. The watch felt very, very formal to me, and when I started wearing it, I couldn't keep it on the wrist, casually hanging around the house doing things, going to the store and whatnot. It just didn't sit well with me. I did wear it on a couple occasions. I wore it to a wedding, and it was great. But then I started thinking to myself, did I make a mistake here? I didn't go originally with the bracelet because it was a pretty steep markup. And after I bought the watch, a month or two later, I reached out to the dealer and asked him how much the bracelet would be, and it was around $650. And I was like, yikes. So it sat on my watch box, collecting dust a little bit for a while there. And then I had I tell this story several times, but I had somebody who's an early subscriber to the channel recommend these Fluco bands, and so I experimented and realized that these leather, these Fluco leather bands. I got a brown one and this blue one, and realized, well, you know what? With these bands, this watch, I could almost wear this. It's a daily wear for me. So I started wearing it much more often, and it really saved the relationship, I would have to say, because I had reached out to a couple of online dealers and tried to get some quotes on the watch, because I was thinking about selling it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I really do enjoy this watch. So another positive is that it's versatile. So you got the history of the watch, and the versatility with this color scheme of adding a couple of different bands to it. I mean, I could probably even get away with putting it on a NATO, um, and it is kind of a strap monster, if for lack of a better term. Another cool thing about the El Primero and the El Primero movement and variations of it is that across the Zenith line, um, the Defy line, the Pilot line, the Class line, you'll find the movement there, and which is pretty neat, because then you have a whole lot of options. You don't have to go with this classic tri-color dial, a sub-dial look. There's other variations of this, right? And then when you go to the Pilot line and Defy line, you have a totally different looking watch with that movement in it. So that's a plus. I also find that potentially as a negative, because it makes it a little bit less special, right? If the movement is in every single line that they have, dozens and dozens and dozens of models, it kind of takes it away, takes us a little bit something away from me, but not a deal breaker, right? So there's a couple other things I want to discuss. Some couple things that you should know as well. This 38 millimeter size may not be for everyone. In the age of larger watches, even though we're sort of kind of moving to smaller, back down to smaller case diameters, and it's still in the large diameter case world, the 38 may be small for people. I've noticed that the dial is a little crowded, and it's going to go to one of my other negatives here, is that lately I've been finding it hard to read the time sometimes. When I look at the watch, especially yesterday. Yesterday I kept on saying, my wife asked me a couple times, what time was it? And I was like, oh, it's like 4:30. Meanwhile, it was like 5:30. So I was looking down quickly and misreading it. So because of, we have a busy dial here, when the hands are down over here on the bottom half of the dial, for me anyway, I'll just speak for myself, I can get a little lost. still not a deal breaker because in general that generally doesn't happen all the time. And lastly, another thing that you should know about the El Primero is the potential servicing costs for it. Um, I have not yet need to have the service. I've had it for less than a year. But in a few years, when I need to get it serviced or when it's recommended, it's going to cost a pretty penny. I've seen people on the forums say at least $1,000, up to $1,500 to service this complicated piece. So that's something that you need to be aware of when you're purchasing this, because that may be a deal breaker for some people. If you buy this used, check the service history. If it's been recently serviced, great. Get the receipts. Just make sure, because that may save you a lot of dough. But that is the price you pay for luxury watches, and in this particular watch as well. I feel that the amount of joy that I get out of this watch outweighs the potential servicing costs, outweighs for the lack that it may not be as special because the movement is, or variations of the movement is across a bunch of other Zenith lines. It outweighs the fact that maybe sometimes it's a little hard for me to tell the time, or that it may be too small or may be too more on the formal side. I love this watch and I highly recommend it. And you're owning a part of history as well, which I think is pretty dang cool. So anyway, guys, please let me know what you think about the Zenith El Primero. If you have one, tell me what your pros and cons are. I'd be interested to know. I've had it for 6 months, and these are the cons and the pros that I came up with. I'm not trying to find fault or or try to be too exuberant about the watch. I just want to give you an honest opinion on it. I love the watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Thank you for watching.